The button at the bottom of the page will resort the dataset that's being used to display this chart. Now when we click the button, the data is resorted, and the chart responds accordingly by showing the new sorted data. And as well, there's some animations there. Now, this is a case where we used D3 in order to handle events on an external HTML element. Now, when I say external, I mean external to the SVG element, which is represented by the cream-colored area on the page. Remember, D3 is really just a library to manipulate the DOM, and the button is part of the DOM. So what we'll take a look at here is adding interactivity directly on the elements within the SVG elements. Namely, we'll look at responding to mouse events that are attached to each of the bars on our chart. Let's head to the code. And what we need to do is we need to find the portion of the code that draws the bars on the page. So that's done within our custom plot function, and we'll find that here at the bottom. That begins at line 139. Now, we need to add the interactivity to the enter phase of the drawing of the bars, and that's at lines 150 through 155. So here we select all the elements that have the bar class, and then we denote the data set that will be bound to. And finally, we're denoting the enter phase through the .enter function that's part of this statement. Now we'll go to the end of this statement, and just before the semicolon, create a new line. And here we'll use the on method to respond to mouse events. So the first thing I'll type is .on, parentheses, and the first argument is the event to respond to. So we're going to respond to the mouse over event. And the second argument is the function to fire when a mouse over event occurs. So function, open and close parentheses, and open and close curly brackets. Now the arguments will be the data that is bound and the index of the current element. Because remember, this is still part of the enter phase. So it's really just like any other function that we use with an attribute when binding data and then displaying it. Here we'll incorporate a rollover effect. When the user rolls their mouse over the bar will turn a bright yellow. So to do this, we need to type the following: d3.select, and then within parentheses, the selector will be this. Now don't be confused here. The this keyword here at 157 is different than the this keyword at 151, and that's because we're within a function. You see, in JavaScript, this represents the caller of the object. So this is being called by a function. Outside of it, this is representative of chart because we explicitly used .call to set this, which is chart. Gets kind of confusing, but I'll make sure I point that out each time it's a potential problem. Head back up, and then within the mouse over function, d3.select, and we're selecting this. Now we'll set the style property, .style, open and close parentheses. First argument is the CSS style to effect, and that's the fill. And the second argument is the value, yellow. Okay, semicolon at the end. We'll save it, head to the web page, and refresh. Now, when we mouse over, the bars turn yellow. Now, you can probably see the next problem is we need to actually have them revert back to their normal color, because this isn't very useful to just mouse over the bars and have them all turn yellow. Let's head back to the code. Now, after this on mouse over, just before the semicolon, new line, .on, and open and close parentheses. Once again, the first argument is the event to respond to. So here let's do mouse move, comma, function, open and close parentheses, and open and close curly brackets. Arguments are d, comma, I. Now we're actually not going to incorporate this particular event. Instead, if you wanted to, you could incorporate an event listener mouse move, whereby if you move the mouse within the area of the bar, it will then fire this function. What we're really looking for is the mouse is either over the bar or not, so it's either mouse over or mouse out. So again, cursor just before the semicolon, .on, parentheses, first argument, mouse out. And as you can probably guess, the second is a function. I'll copy the function from the mouse move and paste it. It's the same function setup. Just as we did with mouse over, d3.select, open and close parentheses, this, which is representative of this element, .style, open and close parentheses. First argument is fill because we're affecting the fill style. And the second argument is ordinal color scale, parentheses, and I. Remember that ordinal color scale is the color scale that we're using to draw the different colors of the bars. So essentially on mouse out, we just need to revert back to the color that was used for the bar. To do that, we pass the index of the bar into the ordinal color scale function. Save that and head to the web page, refresh, and we'll mouse over and out. And we can see now that it's highlighting each of the bars as we roll over. Resort the page, and the functionality still remains because we set up the event listeners on the enter portion of our function. If we did it anywhere else, it might not work. You're not just limited to mouse events when using D3 events. Instead, there are lots of different kinds of events that you can listen for and react to, and you'll want to take a look at the documentation to see how to use them and what they would be useful for.